LBH Jakarta is now active on disability rights and inclusion. Lembaga Bantuan Hukum or LBH Jakarta has since 2013 included disability as a priority issue in its work plans. At an organizational level, it is currently making changes to ensure that the office is accessible using universal design guidelines and helping to ensure that staff have knowledge and skills about disability so they can sensitively and appropriately manage cases that involve people with disability. First, the starting point. Prior to LBH Jakarta being involved with AIPJ, the organization had managed some cases on disability. However, this had been on a case-by-case basis, and the issue of disability had not been approached strategically by the organization as a mainstream issue. The management of LBH Jakarta recognized there was need to strengthen staff capacity to be better able to manage cases affecting people with disability. But because of limited time and resources and not knowing who to go to for assistance, this had not taken place. Second, including disability as a priority area for the organization. What took place? Partnership with the AIPJ Disability Team. In early 2013, the AIPJ Legal Aid Team introduced LBH Jakarta to the AIPJ Disability Team. At this meeting, an option for implementing a disability-specific activity to train disabled people organization or DPO members as a paralegals was discussed. Initially, LBH Jakarta management was concerned about the capacity of the organization to manage this new area of work that focused specifically on training people with disability. They were concerned about whether, over such a short period of time, they would be successful in adapting the training to meet the needs of the participants and whether longer-term sustained results could be achieved. After further planning discussions and with the technical support by the AIPJ Disability Team, LBH Jakarta staff understood what adaptations were needed for the training program and how to make them. They became more confident about working with people with disability. In quote, with the inputs of Chuchu, an AIPJ staff, we learned a lot and realized that it was not something to worry about. Over time, with so many inputs, we started to understand about disability. LBH Jakarta staff. New networks through the CSO Strengthening Program. In 2013, LBH Jakarta was selected as one of the organizations for the National CSO Strengthening Program implemented by the Asia Foundation or TAF for AIPJ. Through this initiative, LBH Jakarta was introduced to the DPOs, SABDA and SIGAP. Through engagement with the DPOs, LBH Jakarta's management learned a lot from the first-hand experience and expertise that the leaders of DPOs shared at forums facilitated by TAF and through informal discussions between the CSO participating in the program. LBH Jakarta arranged training lawyers on disability awareness and inclusion from Nurul of Sabda and on specific issues such as forced eviction. They received insights and advice from Johnny and Ipung from Sigap about how best to manage these cases when people with disability are involved. The knowledge gained from interacting with people who have expertise in law and are themselves people with disability, through both formal training and informal discussions, helped the staff and lawyers working with LBH Jakarta to change their perspectives and improve their understanding about disability rights and inclusion. Overall, it helped to improve the capacity and expertise that LBH Jakarta could offer people with disability. In quote, Through the networks with the DPOs, it was the first time we met so many experts and activists on disability, which helped change our perspectives on disability and inclusion. It was also of great interest what they as people with disability could achieve. LBH Jakarta staff. Joint action with DPOs and activists with disability. Since 2013, LBH Jakarta has implemented a number of activities working with DPOs. They were contracted by AIPJ to implement training for paralegals for members of DPOs in Jakarta and at provincial level. Through the networks and links made with the DPOs, they increased their involvement in a number of different actions, including advocacy and support of cases with SIGAP, including the public university application process. They have supported other DPOs, for example, advocacy with Gerkatin, or Deaf Association of the National Election Commission, to ensure the televised second presidential debate had sign language interpreting. Involved DPOs in the reform of clinical procedural code reform in the penal courts regarding admission of evidence and criminal responsibility for cases involving people with disability. And successful advocacy of the national airline Garuda on cases involving discriminatory practice against passengers with physical disability, which resulted in the airline publicly apologizing and putting in place standard operational procedure on disability. The strategies that were used: disability-specific technical advice and training from AIPJ staff and partners DPOs. Networking opportunities with DPO leaders around legal and human rights issues of shared interest at CSO forums and at the AIPJ Disability Partners meeting. Informal interaction and engagement with people with disability who are leaders and activists. Joint action between LBH Jakarta and DPOs on different legal cases, research, advocacy, and training. Factors that supported positive change. Direct engagement with knowledgeable and well-informed leaders of DPOs was made possible by the partnership with AIPJ. Technical advice and support on disability that was readily available by AIPJ and the partner DPOs. Interest and commitment of LBH Jakarta to work on disability from some experience prior to AIPJ and due to personal interest of a staff person to champion disability. Factors that did not support the changes as had been expected or created challenges. The existing basic training program for paralegals was too high for DPO members, so it had to be adapted and more time taken with the training. Coordination and management between LBH Jakarta as the contract holder for AIPJ with other LBH for the paralegal training had to be negotiated because of the relationship between the different LBHs. The lack of commitment by other AIPJ sections to implement disability inclusion activities in their program areas, even though it is a priority and cross-cutting issue for the program. Engagement and commitment by other LBH to disability inclusion is not as strong as it is for LBH Jakarta, and they have less experience of working with DPOs. Support by AIPJ to some of the provincial LBH was lacking, and this has made it more difficult for them to progress disability inclusion, for example in Bandung. Third, the organizational changes that have occurred. LBH Jakarta staff are more knowledgeable and confident to work on disability issues. Their lawyers are managing more cases and they are more active in advocacy on disability rights and inclusion. Training of lawyers on disability issues and of people with disability on legal issues has been held, and people with disability are involved in most of LBH workshops and paralegal training and disability. There is a staff person designated for disability issues, and he is responsible for managing the implementation of the disability strategy and program of work for the organization, which includes campaigning on the issue. Creating universal accessible office space through renovations means there is now a consultancy room that can be easily accessed by people with a physical disability. Research into universal access has been undertaken into disability access in public buildings at a sub-district level, shopping malls, courts, and police stations. Disability was a thematic area in the annual Kalabahu, or Training for Law Graduates on Legal Aid in 2014, where 55 participants in 5 districts around Jakarta region spent 1 week with a DPO to increase their knowledge and understanding about disability and rights. Fourth, the key lessons learned. The personal experience and expertise of people with disability is very important and influential in increasing awareness and understanding and changing perspectives about disability of people who are not disabled. The opportunity for mainstream organizations to meet and share experience and expertise with DPOs about disability and common areas of interest helps build knowledge capacity and create links and networks that can be drawn on for supports and joint action. Strong leaders and advocates on disability are important for supporting progress towards inclusion. Champions for disability within an organization help drive the change and to progress of inclusion. Starting from some knowledge and experience of disability within the organization helps provide a foundation and motivation for more strategic and greater engagement on disability inclusion.